Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Early Bitcoin adopter says you could retire your bloodline with XRP. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm sure you guys are very happy to hear that kind of title, but let's get into this. Could you retire your bloodline with XRP? Well, look, the first thing I'll say with this, guys, and this is how I am, I always give you the real deal. I can't say that for 100%. Obviously, no one knows for sure where XRP is going to go. But do I believe that this is possible? Absolutely. 100% I think this is possible. But I think what you've got to understand with this is, you've got to think long term, right? This is the thing. So when I think about this saying you could retire your bloodline with XRP, I'm not thinking like this cycle. Like, I'm not thinking, if we are still in this bull run right now, if this is still happening and we are just waiting for the alt season to happen, I do not believe I'm going to be able to retire my entire bloodline, by the end of this cycle. That I just don't believe. So in terms of like when you're thinking about this, I think you've got to have a long-term perspective, right? But this is the thing, guys. Like, I think what people just need to understand here with crypto as a whole, because this is what I'll say, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm an XRP holder, so it's one of my bigger holdings, and one of the ones I actually have, like one of the ones I have the most faith in. But I have got other cryptos too. And the thing that I will say with this, for me, this is what my general belief is, and XRP is obviously included in this. I just think if you hold the right assets, if you hold the right cryptos, you're so early in this space that you will be wealthy from them. And that's if you're willing to have a long-term mindset, right? Because, people get frustrated with, the price action and stuff like that right now. You have got to understand that we are still so early in this space. And I know people have been here for years, so they might think, we're not early, we've been here for a long time. No, you got to understand, like, where crypto's going to be now in terms of, like, in the future, you're very early. So if you think about the internet, right, like, the internet has evolved over stages. And if you think about AI, we've got to AI now. Like, how far are we into the internet to the point where we've got AI, which is, powered by the internet? So you got to understand that all this stuff happens in stages. It evolves over time. When the internet first started, you had to use dial-up, right? And then from dial-up, we went over to broadband. And then from broadband, we went to fiber optic broadband, right? So this is what I'm saying. It evolves over time, right? And so with crypto, yes, we have seen evolution already, but there's going to be so much more that's going to come from this. And that's what I don't think people are understanding yet. Like, we've not even got regulations properly on crypto yet. Stablecoins have got their regulations, but we've not got the clear rules of the road yet for crypto. This is how early we are. So, when you think about crypto in terms of, going into 10 years time, 15 years time, 20 years time. For me, as I said, if you're in the right cryptos, because please understand, I don't think this is going to happen for absolutely every crypto. If you're in a meme coin, for example, I wouldn't hold much hope for that future wise. But if you're in the right cryptos, the ones that are going to have longevity, which I believe XRP is one of them, yes, they're going to get significantly more valuable over time. That is going to happen because these types of cryptos like XRP actually have a purpose. They have utility. They have something that institutions can use, people can use, right? Governments can use. They have things that are useful for people. And so when you have things that are useful, people want to use them because they're useful, right? And so that will obviously appreciate the value over time. That's how this works. And so for me personally, when I, look at XRP, as I say, I can't guarantee its future. So, for example, who knows if something could come out with the XRP ledger where there's some huge flaw in the network or something like that hadn't been, foreseen before. There could be anything that could happen. Now, do I think that's likely? No, because I think if that was going to have happened, XRP's been around, I want to say since like 2012. So I feel like there's been enough time for, any kind of exploit or something like that to have happened, to have already have occurred by now. But obviously, I just don't make guarantees here. I'm not someone here who tries to be an influencer who says, yo, XRP is going to go up to this number by this date, 100%. Like, nobody really knows, right? And so we can't say what the future is going to hold. But if you ask me just on my assumption, my own personal assumption, I think XRP will be successful. That's my personal opinion. And I think ultimately it will go up in value. So, like I did a video very recently where we looked at the math of can XRP hit $100, and it's possible. It's mathematically possible. And I've been saying this for a long time now. In terms of, $10,000, personally, I'm not buying that, but triple digits, yeah, I think that's absolutely possible, and that has been confirmed. So, if you think about it now, if you've got in at prices, like even now, if you've got in at like $3, you could hold, and if it can get to $100 or $100 plus whatever, you could be significantly wealthy from that, right? And so what I say with XRP, and I'll tell you now, this was like kind of why I got into XRP. I had the opportunity to get into Bitcoin, and this was before it hit like, I want to say at this point, it was probably in the double digits, maybe triple digits. I can't say for sure, but it was low, right? It was very low. It was around 2000, and I want to say it was around like 2010 to 2012, roughly around that kind of time frame. But 100%, it wasn't into like the thousands at this point, right? And I didn't get into it simply because I didn't understand it, right? I read about it, and I just like there's trying to explain like what a cold storage wallet was, and writing this stuff down on paper, and I just didn't understand it. And because I wasn't that interested in it at the time, I didn't take the effort to really deep dive and understand it. So I left it. I just didn't bother investing. Obviously, that was clearly a big mistake on my end. So once I saw where it was going with Bitcoin, once I kind of got told about XRP, my first thought was, I don't want this to be another missed opportunity. So I got straight in. And so for me, when I look at XRP, like this is my second chance, right? At the end of the day, I missed the boat with Bitcoin. For me, XRP and other cryptos, this is my second chance to not miss the boat again and to actually try and gain wealth, right? And so for me, I've got like 20 different cryptos, right? I've got 5 that I really believe in. And I'll be honest with you, I do believe those 5. I really believe those can make me very wealthy. I do believe that 100%. And XRP is one of those 5. So yes, I do agree with this long term. Like, I'm not saying that this is going to be something that happens, by the end of 2026. No, I'm not saying that. But I think if you can have a long-term outlook, then I really do think overall you could be looking at these crypto prices for many of them, with XRP obviously included, and say, wow, I actually had the opportunity to buy into this crypto, XRP, whatever, at this price, and look at what it's valued at now. Because these cryptos are going to be embedded with companies, governments, all these types of sectors, industries and stuff like that. And so there is going to be value that will come through it in the end. Like, that is going to be reflected in the value overall in the long term. That's what I personally believe, right? So this is the golden opportunity, right? Like, this is the golden ticket, like for me personally, that's the way I see this. And so, like for me, I've just took this opportunity and I'm grabbing it with both hands, right? And I get that for like, obviously different people are in different situations. So, like for me, for example, I've told you guys before that if this bull run is in play, if we do have this alt season, I am going to sell some crypto, right? Like, first and foremost, I've got 20 different cryptos, as I say. So I've got the 5 that I really believe in. The other 15, to be honest with you, I'm happy to just sell those off, because those are ones that I've just brought over time. Some of them were like cryptos that I was just messing around with in the previous bull run. Like, those are going to be ones that I don't really have that much faith in. So it's more just like, hey, if we have a big bull run pump and these cryptos go up, I'm selling them, because, I'm not really bothered about where they go long term. I've got the 5 that I really believe in. And those are the ones that, I'll probably sell percentages of them, but I'm not looking to sell all of them. I'm looking to like hold on to these, because those are the ones that I do believe long term will make me huge wealth. That's what I personally believe. And so, yeah, I do agree with this overall. I do think you have the opportunity for XRP to potentially retire your whole bloodline. That is possible, but it is going to be dependent on your outlook, right? So again, if you, come back in 2 years time and say, well, XRP isn't high enough for me to do that, then, well, yeah, you know, you've not been willing to hold long enough, right? Like, I think you've got to have a bit more of a broader long-term perspective when we're talking to this kind of value. But the one thing I will say is crypto is going to give you that chance a lot better and quicker than the stock market ever would. The stock market is very slow. You know, it doesn't go up in huge amounts of value. And that's where crypto is the golden opportunity, because it's so new. There's not a lot of money in it at the moment, so it's very volatile. That's why you get such high, you know, swing movements to the upside and downside, because it's so volatile, because there's not as much value in it. You don't really see that with the stock market. And so, yeah, like for me personally, I'm someone who intends to take full advantage of this. You know, that's where I look at this as the golden ticket, as I've been saying. So, yes, for me personally, I do agree with the sentiment here, but I will say this, like, I wouldn't be thinking about this from a perspective of, you know, a year or two. I would be thinking about this much further down the line in regards to, you know, retiring your entire bloodline. But I do think it's possible. And again, I'm not going to say that's necessarily just XRP. I think there's going to be other cryptos that could do that, you know, and that's why, you know, I don't just hold the one thing, but I do believe XRP specifically could be one of those cryptos that can do that. So obviously this is going to depend on how much you hold, whether you sell some earlier on, and how long you are willing to hold for how long, right? Because that's the kind of things that you've got to also consider here. But the possibility is there, guys. So we'll see how things unfold, you know, but to me, I think for a lot of people who hold XRP at these current prices, I think when you look in, let's say 5-10 years time, if you do still hold some, I think you'll look back and think that was a very good choice. You know, that's turned out to be a very profitable thing that I decided to invest in. That's my personal opinion. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I'm feeling very confident with this, and I do agree that this title is more than possible. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.